Now we discuss multiplication and division. Again, there are three cases. First is when all numbers are positive. Second is when all numbers are negative. In third is when few are positive and few are negative. If all numbers are positive, whether you are multiplying them or you are dividing them, the result would be positive. So 3 multiplied by 5 is 15. And 3 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 5 is 60. No matter how many numbers, if all are positive, the result will always be positive. All negative, you might expect that if all numbers are negative, the result would still be negative. But no, it's not. And if all numbers are negative, the result could be positive and result could also be negative. Yes, if two numbers, if you are multiplying two numbers, not all, but two numbers, not all, but both of them, we are talking about only two numbers. If two numbers are negative and they are being multiplied or divided, the result would be positive for two numbers. For example, if minus 5 is multiplied by minus 1, the result would be plus 5. Both numbers are negative, but the result is plus 5. Now let's talk about the third case first. Few are positive and few are negative. So again, we first talk about two numbers, not few, but two numbers. The simplest case. Two numbers. One is positive and the other is negative. So when two numbers of different sign they multiply, the result is always negative. Multiply or divide. So for example, minus 5 is multiplied by plus 4. So this 4 is positive, 5 is negative, both have different sign. The result is negative 20. So in second case, both have same sign, so the result is positive. In the first case, the both have same sign, both are positive, so the result is positive. So we can simplify these two cases for two numbers only, for two numbers, not for many numbers. If three numbers are being multiplied together, which we will discuss now, but before that we are talking about only two numbers. So we can say for two numbers, so there are only two cases. First case is when both have same sign, whether both positive or both negative. And the second case is when both have different sign. So when we talk about two numbers, there are only two cases. So when both have same sign, the result is positive. And when both have different sign, the result is negative. For addition, we treated many numbers like same, add it all together, positive, add it all negative together. Very simple, until we are left with one positive and one negative number. And then we subtracted and put the sign of the larger number. Now here we are talking about two numbers first. If both have same sign, the result is positive. If both have different sign, the result is negative. Let us talk about more than two numbers. So let us talk about exponents. For example, I have to divide minus 2 raised to the power 5, and on my denominator I have minus 2 raised to the power 4. So exponent means that we are multiplying this minus 2 5 times. So now there are 5 numbers. So if we use our rules of 2 numbers, we have to do this many times, because sometimes these exponents can be very large numbers. So one way of doing this is, which is not a good way, which we have learned, but that way is not good for exponents. And I'm going to show you a very easy method to handle these exponents. But first, let's talk about what we have learned. If I put this minus 2 5 times, and this minus 2 4 times, so one way of doing this is, because these are minus 2, so we can cancel these out straight away. We can cancel these out straight away. Four, and only minus 2 is left, so minus 2 is the answer. But what about if there is minus 3? So minus 2 raised to the power 5 divided by minus 3 raised to the power 5. So in that case, how to handle this situation? So minus 2, I just write down to demonstrate you first, and then I will show you how to solve this very easily. And we have to write minus 3 5 times as well. So what we have learned is, when we multiply two numbers, if they both have same sign, the resultant will be positive. So what you can do here is, you can multiply these two together, and because both have same sign, the resultant will be positive. Then these two, and the resultant will be positive. Then you will be left with minus 2. And then you do the same in the denominator. 9, 9 again, 9 from these two, 9 from these two, and you are left with minus 3. Now what you can see here is that you can handle these two numbers together now, because both have negative signs, and multiplication and division, the result would be positive. So I'm just writing here. So the result of these two will be positive 2 divided by positive 3. So these negative signs, you can say that these negative signs in the denominator and numerator can cancel out. And then you will be left with 16 at the top and 81 in the numerator and 81 in the denominator. And you can multiply these two numbers together and you will get the answer. This is your answer. So one way of doing this is like this. Now I will show you a more direct method of doing this, which you might have already figured out. But I will just elaborate this a little bit further with a new example. So I'm just taking small numbers again. So minus 2 raised to the power 5 again. And this time 3 raised to the power 3 only. Now the best approach here is that since we have a negative number raised to the odd power, this is an odd exponent, and we know that every 2 powers will make this negative positive, because when we multiply negative 2 with the negative 2, we consume 2 of the exponents. we consume 2 of the exponents. So this will make it positive. So every 2 exponents will make it positive. So it means the 4 exponents will make this positive. But the 5th exponent will make this term negative. So if the power is odd, if a power of a negative sign is odd, we can say that power of a negative sign is odd, then the sign of the resultant will be negative. Sign of the resultant. The sign is more important because we know the number. Resultant is negative. And when the power of a negative sign is even, this sign of the resultant is positive. So we handle the sign separately with the number. So we can write this question in this way. Minus means minus 1 raised to the power 5 multiplied by 2 raised to the power 5. We took minus 1 common from the numerator. Actually, we have just separated the sign from the number. So we have taken minus 1 separate and the number separate. And in the denominator, we don't have to do anything. 3 raised to the power 3 is 27. Now we know that this is an odd power. So minus 1 raised to an odd power is negative. Negative 1. 1 we can omit. And 2 raised to the power 5 is 32. Divided by 27. So answer would be minus 32 divided by 27. So this is the good way of handling. You should know that if the power is odd of a negative number, then the sign of the resultant would be negative. And if the power is even, the sign would be positive. So this is the correct way of handling exponents of negative numbers. So there is one more situation in multiplication when there are more than 2 numbers. Multiplication of signed numbers. When minus 3 is multiplied by minus 7 and multiplied by 8 divided by minus 1 raised to the power 3. So in this case, we can count sometime if there is no exponent, but we can still count how many negative signs are in the top. So there are 2 negative signs. This is first one and this is second one. So it means we have even number of negative signs. So the resultant would be positive. How many negative signs are in the denominator? Minus 1 raised to the power 3. So this is 3 negative signs. 3 negative means odd. Odd power means the resultant would be negative. So we will get a positive resultant at the top. Whatever is the number, we are not calculating this number, whatever. And negative resultant at the bottom. Of course, this is 1. So we can say that this is just 1. So now we have 2 numbers. One is positive and one has a positive sign, the other has a negative sign. So the rule number 2, when both have different sign, the resultant would be negative, and whatever is in the numerator will be your answer.